Thank you, Mr. President. We finished up some 3 or 4 town halls this weekend, bringing us, I think, over 90. And I will tell you this, Americans know they're being lied to. They know the decisions coming out of the White House and the CDC are politically driven. And let me tell you this for sure, Kansans are mad and they're upset. And they know this lie is continuing and their anger continues to grow. And at the end of every town hall, I can tell you 2 or 3 people will grab me and say, please, please keep fighting for our freedoms. This is what else they tell me. They tell me they don't trust the CDC anymore, that the CDC has lost their reputation. And I'm telling you, it'll be difficult for them to ever get it back. And now they're being told that we have to wear masks on airplanes for another month or so. Another horrible decision coming from the White House. More ill advice from the CDC. And all the time we know that with these masks come a psychosocial downfall, that it creates problems. But the CDC continues to lust for control our lives and exert their control over us, over me, over our children and our grandchildren. My concern is this, the CDC continues to make decisions as if they're in a vacuum without consideration of the big picture. So let's just take a moment and talk about where we are today. 95% of Americans have some level of immunity. 95%. New infections are down 94%. Hospitalizations down over 80%. And as far as we know, there's no new variant of concern anywhere in the world that's rearing its ugly head right now. And what do we truly know about the science and the benefits of wearing a mask? What do you know about the risk of wearing a mask? Well, I asked the CDC that same question, I'm sure over a year ago now. I asked them for the studies that support their recommendation to wear masks. Some 80 studies, I looked at every one of them. I would say half of them weren't worth the paper they were printed on. Poor scientific quality, cherry-picking data. But most were still very inconclusive. A few suggested masks might help if they're worn perfectly, if it's the right type of mask. And some of the studies even said that masks were harmful. Now, I'll acknowledge in a perfect world that for a brief period of time, wearing a N95 mask properly could theoretically give a person benefit. But we now know, we've now proven that cloth masks offer little benefit, and they may actually make viruses and infections more common. So does the CDC really believe that masking would help in an airplane? And if they did so, why wouldn't they suggest that we wear an N95 mask? And why do they allow cloth masks? It just seems very inconsistent. And the big problem is always compliance. You know, seatbelts don't work unless you wear them. An airbag on the car doesn't work unless you have it turned on. And just look around. Nobody can wear these masks for hours and hours at a time without touching their nose and touching their mouth and adjusting the mask. And then we take it off to eat and to drink just for moments at a time. So in the real world, it doesn't make any sense that the mask would work, and certainly not in schools. And I think that's been well proven. I think we look at Sweden, a country whose mortality is a fraction of ours from the COVID virus, a fraction of its neighboring countries, a country that had very limited use of masks without mandates as well. I think the big opportunity with airlines is they made a big investment in air exchanges. We know air exchange works. From our experiences in surgical centers, we knew that when we moved to the modern air exchangers, that our number of infections, post-op infections for joint replacements went down significantly. We always knew the air replacement was a big part of this. But no, this administration continues to want to control our lives. Their healthcare infectious disease czar, Dr. Fauci, decreed that even after airline executives gave testimony that masks were of no benefit, Dr. Fauci decreed he didn't think masks would ever come off on airplanes. Why? Why would he make such a bombastic, ignorant claim? Mr. President, it's time to stop all the mandates. It's time to stop the travel mask mandates. It's time to let our people go. Thank you, and I yield back.